Hello Griffin fans, and welcome to the campus of Westminster College here in beautiful Salt Lake City for the first edition of the Westminster Sports Report. I'm your host, Lance Barton. Twice a month we will be bringing you an in-depth look into all the Westminster athletic teams, filled with highlights, analysis, interviews, and more. During this week's 3-day premiere, we will preview the upcoming seasons for volleyball, men's soccer, and women's soccer. You will be able to follow us and catch every episode at westminstergriffins.com. Now, enjoy this week's edition of the Westminster Sports Report. Welcome inside Bankin Fieldhouse, home of the Westminster Griffins and the women's volleyball team. The Griffins look to continue their rise in the Frontier Conference under first-year head coach Al Givens. Earlier this week, SID Josh Fisher sat down with Coach Givens and started by asking about his first few months with the program.
Well, I think the first few months was a little bit of an adjustment period for the players that are in the program that were returning. Now, we didn't have many. We were training 5 kids this spring, 4 of which will be back this fall. So a lot of our focus with those players was just on developing our ball control. I mean, we didn't have really the numbers to work on. We could do individual systematic stuff, but nothing that related to the whole team.
When you stepped into this program back then, what were kind of your first impressions, and where do you think you can take this program from here?
First impressions was that it's a fantastic school from an academic standpoint. Aesthetically, a beautiful campus. It's in a great city. So my thoughts were, we can recruit to Westminster. The name, the academic reputation, the program has had success over the years, and so obviously you can get back to that point. But for me, it was more about wherever you're at with a program in a school, you want to have something that you can sell. And I think the academics is very attractive. Our location, the fact that we're in a great city, in an area of the country that has a lot of diversity with climate and 4 seasons, and then we're close to a lot of, we're close to California, we're close to Idaho, Oregon, the western states. We're in a good conference. We're getting ready to go into another good conference when we make the move to Division II. So all those things were very attractive as we're talking about building a program forward and into the future.
As you look at this team now, you mentioned you have 4 returners. How big of a role are they going to play with so many newcomers coming in?
Well, the good thing is the strength of our experience is in the outside position, in your pin hitters. Historically in volleyball, you win on the strength of your outsides. So that's going to be important because that experience we're going to have to rely on that because our setting is going to be new, our middles are going to be new, our liberos and DSs are going to be new. And so our leadership is in our outsides, which is good, and our experiences in our outsides. But I think the biggest test for us with 10 new players and 4 returning is how quickly we assimilate to a system, even for the returners. Systematically we're going to do things different. I mean, the game doesn't change. It's still pass, set, hit, dig, set, hit. The only thing that changes is the system that you're trying to incorporate. I like a little faster system which requires more ball control. So the majority of our focus will be on being able to ball control to run the system that we like to, but not at the expense of not executing. So we'll tweak it to the players that we have because we want to be successful. So we're not going to attempt things tactically that we can't do technically.
You talked about the experience being in the pin hitters, and obviously one of those is Alexis Haalona. She was first team all conference last year, 750 career kills. How important is she going to be for success of this team?
Well, I think for sure. It's going to be twofold. I think teams know about her. They know they're going to have to game plan for her. But what I want to do with her is move her around more. I don't want to keep her out on just one of the pins. She's a dynamic athlete that can hit a variety of tempos of sets, and to not only make her more valuable, but to make teams have to game plan for her more, is move her around the net more. And so we're going to employ a little bit more of a swing system that allows her the freedom to go more places and more zones on the net. And I think it's going to make her more effective, and it's going to make our team more effective, because it's going to open up things.
Late in the last season, Elise Horton really took a big step, and she's been in the gym all summer. I've seen her around a lot. Is her role going to expand even more than last year, do you think? And do you think she can be one of those players that really leads us?
Well, she's one of our team captains. Her and Alexis are our team captains, and you're exactly right. Elise has been in the gym all summer. She's been working out, doing everything that I've asked her to do, and that's important to me as a coach, because you want to make sure that that your players understand the process. You have to put in the work if you want the results. And so she's definitely done that. I think she brings a lot of intangibles. And sometimes it's not your best 6 players on the court, but it's the 6 that play the best together. And so I would anticipate that she'll be one of our, I would love to find a way to have our experience on the court all the time. I actually have a little system in play that will do that for us. But I also like the fact that we want to have enough variety that teams have to game plan for us, and not high outside, high back. We're going to run a little quicker with our middles, because I like a little more zero tempo with them. One of our assets and one of our strengths is going to be that we're going to have speed. We may be a little small when you compare it to the rest of the teams in the conference, but I think we're going to be faster. And so in order to utilize our speed, we're going to have ball control.
You have 10 newcomers. That's a lot. It's a lot of young kids who are going to play early on. I mean, what expectation do you have for that group?
You know what? I'm not going to put any expectations on them. I think that when you put expectations, then you limit, because your expectations might be too low. So my goal for every day of practice is, let's improve, let's get better. Yeah, we'll take some steps backwards, but we want to continually be moving forward, so that when we get to the conference tournament, we're playing the best volleyball of the season. And one of the things that I want to impart to the players is, the player that you have to be better than is the player you were yesterday. And so if we set that mindset, then we can constantly working on improvement. And I really want us to focus on process. Because if we get the process correct, then the outcomes are going to take care of themselves. I don't know that we can win the conference regular season, because we don't have enough experience. But I know that if we're playing the best that we can at the end of the season, then we're going to put ourselves in a good position to maybe make a run. And so that's what I would target for.
Some of those newcomers, as you talk about ball control, and I mean, Kendall Kordakis, all-time leader in digs, graduates. You've got to replace her with a young player. Is there someone at that spot that you think is going to maybe not be that good yet, but could grow into that kind of role?
I think it's going to be more by committee, because all of our DSs are freshmen. And to ask a freshman to step up and play like a senior, I don't think that's very realistic. But maybe we can generate the same amount of productivity if we share it among 2 or 3 people, as opposed to putting that just on one.
Sure, and that's probably the same in the setter situation. I mean, Emily Atkinson graduates, first team all conference, all-time leader in assists. That's a huge role to fill, as she was a captain. As you go into that role, is that another area you think that's going to be kind of split up between a couple players?
Absolutely. I think early on we're gonna try to get experience to each of our setters, so that Because you're always one injury away from being out there full time, and if you don't prepare for that, then when that happens, it's pretty devastating for your team. Plus, I want to see who's going to step up to the plate and be able to. And that's the other thing. If you're implementing a 5-1 and you're implementing a 6-2, now teams have to game plan for two different systems, which creates more planning for those opponents as they prepare to play us. But more importantly, selfishly, I want to give those kids playing time. We have a very, very strong preseason schedule that will not only test us, but nobody shows you where your weaknesses are like your opponents.
Talking about that schedule in true Westminster fashion, playing one of the toughest non-conference schedules in the country again. Several teams that are going to be nationally ranked. And then the conference is better across. It's just getting better every year.
Absolutely.
It's a tough conference. How does this schedule or that non-conference schedule prepare you for the tough conference?
Well, it doesn't necessarily lend itself to be real successful early, but what it does is we're going to see teams in our preseason that are better than any of the teams in our conference. And so from that standpoint, I've always felt like if you want to be the best, you got to play the best. If you play a really, really soft schedule and then you get into your conference and it's way tougher, then you're not really ready for that because you haven't had to compete against that. It's a catch-22. You want your players confident, but you want them to be tested. And so finding that, now we can't go 0 and whatever all through preseason and then expect to be confident going into conference. So we got to find a way to generate some success along the way that'll make us feel good about where we are and where we're headed with the program. But I truly believe that we can have and develop a consistent, successful program here. And I would say that was probably one of the things that's been missing, because they've had success. But it hasn't been consistent. If you look at our women's basketball and our men's basketball and several of our other sports, soccer and lacrosse, they are consistently good. And that's the model that we want to develop.
Obviously, first 4 weekends you're on the road, so it's going to be a long time before the local fans get to come out and see you play in this gym. By the time you get here, what do you expect this team to look like, and what can the fans take as wins between now and then that's going to show this program's headed in the right direction?
Well, obviously picking up some wins would be important toward that end, but more importantly, I think the style of play and the way that we play and the way that we handle our business is going to be important. And I want our fans, just like our players, to feel that anytime we take the court, one, that we're not going to get outworked, two, that we're going to offer an entertaining brand of volleyball when they come, and that no matter what the score is, whether we're down 2-0 or whether it's a 5th set, I want our players to feel and I want our fans to feel that we have an opportunity to be successful. And you have to create that culture, and you create it in practice, and you create it in tournaments, you create it in your preseason, and then it's got to spill over into your conference season. To me, there's 3 different facets of your season. There's the preseason, the regular season, and then the postseason. And everything that we do in these first 2 seasons needs to serve that last season.
Purple. Dolphin. The Hunger Games. Comedy. Brittany. Summer. Hamburger. Pen. Elsa. Bert.
The Griffins open the season at the Sports Travel Northwest Invitational in Spokane, Washington on August 22nd. The Griffins will spend the first month of the season on the road before facing Montana Western right here in the Bacon Fieldhouse on September 19th. The fans will be here, the nest will be full, and the Griffins will be ready to go. While the Griffins are away from home, you can follow their progress with live stats and video at westminstergriffins.com. Now, here is a look at the upcoming schedule.
My favorite movie would have to be Divergent. An orca whale. I loved Karate. Probably The Hunger Games.
Prim! I volunteer! I volunteer as tribute!
Have to be vacuuming. Campfire. Smoke. Probably bubblegum.
Bubblegum comes in gumballs of all colors and sizes. But for blowing bubbles, nothing beats the chewy, gooey pink stuff in the twist wrap.
Italy. I'd probably go skydiving.
Thanks for watching today. I've been your host, Lance Barton. Make sure to catch our men's soccer preview episode tomorrow night right here at westminstergriffins.com. For all our staff and crew, this has been the Westminster Sports Report Volleyball Preview. #GoGriffins.